Hello HWC folks. For these next 10 to 15 minutes, I'll be talking about how to create an infographic for your HWC project and where to go to find the templates and the research. So first of all, you're creating an infographic to really highlight some information about your charity organization that you've picked. Infographics, if you haven't seen them around either through social media or posted on the walls, they're really a great way to explain information in a very engaging way. And so what we want to do and accomplish is create an infographic that will draw people's attention to read about your charity or organization around campus. And then also you may put in some information about the fundraiser or project that's going to coincide with that charity organization. I really want to get some interest and involvement in the community on it, and an infographic will be a great way to showcase what your charity organization is all about and why they should care about it. To begin with, let's watch this quick video on why infographics are so engaging to people.
Human brains are visually wired. Almost 50% of your brain is involved in visual processing. 70% of all your sensory receptors are in your eyes. And it takes us only 150 milliseconds to process a symbol, plus 100 milliseconds to attach meaning to it. Unfortunately, we have a huge problem with information overload. We receive 5 times as much the information as we did in 1986, consuming 100,500 words outside of work every day. That's why, on average, users only read 28% of words per visit. We'd go crazy otherwise. Infographics counter this overload because they're more engaging. Color visuals increase the willingness to read by 80%. More accessible. People following directions with illustrations and text understand them 323% better than those who follow text only. More persuasive. For example, adding picture with brain scans and mentioning cognitive neuroscience will make more people believe what they're reading. And easier to recall. You'll remember 10% of what you hear, 20% of what you read, and 80% of what you see and do. In short, infographics make it easier for us, and our brains love them for it.
So now that you have an idea of what an infographic is and why it's so engaging as a form of information for people, let's take a look at the components of an infographic. So here's an example of one on pet adoption. So you may be doing something similar. Maybe your infographic is going to be on either homelessness or hunger, food supply, or it is on pet adoption. And so if you take a look at this infographic, you can see that it's not linear, that you can actually look at different elements of it and throughout wherever your eye leads you. And it's quick facts. So it looks at the benefits of why you would want to adopt, the stereotypes about pet shelters, and then you see a lot of numbers here, so a lot of data. And people like data because it helps kind of quantify the issues surrounding the information. So 164 million pets are owned in the US, 20% are adopted. So then it gives you a quick chart. So in your infographic, you're going to want to find some data that helps provide information in your infographic that will help your readers understand your charity more and understand why they should contribute to your charity or be involved in it or care about it or attend your fundraiser. So data helps us with that information. So 4 million are euthanized, about 20% are cats. So you can see that the data, the percentages are larger, so our eyes are drawn to that. We also have different colors used to draw our eyes. Red tends to be something that our eye kind of follows. So you can see here, this one highlights pet adoption, the title, so immediately, we need to have a really engaging title. If we take a look at this one, the first thing you might be drawn to is Regional Food Bank of Oklahoma, so we need to have engaging title. And then you can see here that there's not just pie charts to help understand data. They actually use images. So 1 in 6 Oklahomans struggle with hunger, and you can see that 1 out of 6 people figures is highlighted in orange. So that helps us really understand, read that data differently than if it was just text. It makes it more engaging, and also it kind of helps us understand that data better. So you could see that they have different types of assets or images to correlate with that information. So that's what you're going to be doing. You're going to try to find some really helpful data, facts, figures, and really important information on your charity organization, and then you're going to find some images that correlate with it. So maybe it's providing images that just help identify the data. So maybe it's 90,000, or if you're just talking about food, maybe there's in a small 1 or 2 sentences, then you provide an image of some food. So let's take a look at this one. You could see hunger lives next door. So you want to find a catchy title, and then you can maybe stick with the same color scheme. You can see that your information doesn't need to be linear. You can put the facts and figures in different areas, and then the colors that you use sort of draw your eyes around to that information. But you can see again, they've used little pictures of houses to help identify the data in this nearly half of Canadian households spend between $26 and $50. So you've got half of the houses are red, half are white. Again, it's helping us understand that data in a visual way through images and through text. Okay, now that you understand some key elements of creating an infographic, you need to find your data first. So go to our library website, and you're going to go to either Global Issues and Context, and also check out General One File. So Global Issues and Context, think of this as like a broader Wikipedia. And General One File is going to have a lot of magazine articles, newspapers, academic journals. You can also go to your charity's website. That's going to have a lot of helpful information. And you can also go to the website called Charity Navigator. So stepping into Global Issues and Context. When I search in Global Issues and Context, I'm going to go up to the top, and I'm just going to type in hunger. So say that's my, I'm doing a fundraiser on food supply, and I want to help this local food bank out. I'm going to just search a really general term like hunger. And then you can see that I have viewpoints, so those are going to be opinion pieces, and I have 2,000 of them. I have reference articles, 213, and then I have biographies, statistics. So take a look at some of these statistics. So this is going to be a great possible resource for some data. So right now it gives me a graph. This might be helpful, but if I'm looking for, maybe I'm not looking at world hunger, maybe I'm looking for hunger in the Illinois area or Midwest, then I'm going to want to try to do maybe a different advanced search and type hunger and Illinois. If, for example, you're really not coming up with the information that's going to be helpful or that you're looking for, then really you need to reassess your keywords that you've used. So think about other synonyms to hunger. I'm going to go into the advanced search, and maybe I'm going to type in food supply instead. So you're really only as smart as, the database is really only as smart as the user that's using it. So you yourself need to try out different keywords to find what you're looking for. So ensuring food supply and population, food supply, food shortages, the global market. Okay, so really hopefully if I go over to suggested topics, that could be helpful as well. There's something on food security, so that's a different keyword that might be helpful. You really have to play around with it, but I do think that you're going to be finding some good statistics within Global Issues and Contexts. And look, there's specific statistics right here. General one file is going to look very similar as well. We've got an advanced search, and we could just type in food supply. So depending on your topic. And you can see we get a lot here. We get 54,000 magazine articles, 19,000 academic journals, 953 books. And then what's nice about these databases is that it will highlight my keywords within the text. I don't have to do the Command F to search for my keywords. It will say it right here. So if you do find some information, some data, some facts and figures that are going to be helpful for your infographic, save your article, so you could add it to Google Drive, or you can download it and then dump it into Google Drive, or you can email it to yourself. You're also going to go up to the top and make sure you cite it. So copy this citation because you're going to want to include it somewhere within that infographic. So data is not going to be helpful if we can't see where you got that data from. Otherwise, people are going to look at that chart and just say, okay, where did they get this information? Is it from a credible source? Did they just think of it on their own? Did they find it from someone's blog? So really, your infographic needs to have a citation included within all the pieces of information if they're not, opinion pieces. If you want to include some images along with your infographic, a great site to go to would be creativecommons.org. And I'm going to search up at the top for CC images. So these are all images that are aggregated from search engines such as Google. And what it does is it searches for images that have the Creative Commons license attached, which means that you have the free access to use them. And sometimes they require you to cite, sometimes they don't. And it will say specifically in the specific license down here. So food supply, food, your hits are going to change depending on what keyword you use. But again, you can download these as long as it says that it's free to use, because we want to make sure that we're using images that are not just on Google, but they're also free to use by permission from the user themselves. We want to have a very ethical way that we get our information and artistic images. Another resource for images that I like is the website called Unsplash. So Unsplash again has images that artists like photographers have uploaded to give you free access to use them. So you don't always need to give them attribution. You can if you'd like, but these are similar to Creative Commons, but they actually have more fair usage added to them. So you actually don't need to give give attribution and cite who took the image, but it is kind of recommended. So again, the images here are going to be different than maybe what you find in Google, but it's really good to begin understanding that when we search for images to use for projects or to use for personal use, there's always an ownership involved in it. So who took that image? Just because we give attribution maybe through the site when it's something on Google, that doesn't mean that we have permission to use it. So we need to go to these sites like Creative Commons or Unsplash to find images that we know we are free to use them. Okay, on to creating our infographic. There are plenty of free websites that you can use to design infographics. You can create them from scratch if you are feeling comfortable with it, but the best ones are through templates in sites like canva.com. So that's canva.com. And you can sign up and just use the free version, and there's an array of templates that you can use. So maybe if you type in infographics, you don't see one that's specifically related to your topic, that's unlikely that you are going to do that. But what you want to look at is just the color scheme that they use, the layout, what are you drawn to? So for this one, technology implements child development. So these facts and figures, this data is not going to correlate with your specific information, but you just can easily swap it out. So these are just templates for you to use. So for example, I have one that I like. I think it's kind of engaging and simple. I'm going to press Command plus on my keyboard to enlarge it, and then you can see all of this text. As soon as I highlight over it, I can edit the text and then type in my information. And then the assets. The assets are like the little images that correlate with your data and your information. And you can see this one is kind of marked numerically in some sort of linear fashion, and you can keep that or you can just rearrange things. It's up to you. So these are really, think of it as just placeholders. And so if I'm doing food supply, I'm going to go to the left and I'm going to look under elements for an asset that correlates with food. So if I do that, I see a bunch here. As soon as I click on it, I can drag and drop it, enlarge it. Because again, I want, if I'm going to be introducing people about food supply, I'm going to maybe put a sentence or two about why food supply in Illinois needs to be addressed, and then I'm going to have an image that correlates with that information, or I'm going to have specific data and maybe some images that correlate with that data to help people understand it better. So again, you can easily just drag and drop. These aren't going to be published digitally that I know of, so we don't need to really worry about audio right now, but you can look at elements, text. If you go to photos, it has a bunch of stock images already, but if you don't find the images that you like, again, search Creative Commons or Unsplash to find some images that, that would be helpful. You can also change the background. So again, I hope that's helpful. When you're done, you're going to download this as a PDF, and you can go in the Media Commons to print that out as 11 by 17, and just make sure you talk to me about the paper, and I can make sure that it's in the tray and help you print it out. You can also collaborate on these infographics with a friend. So if you go to the share up at the top, you can add an email of your friend to work on this infographic together. So I hope all this information was helpful and that you have a lot of fun researching your charity and organization. You can supply information about that fundraiser within this infographic, and again, that goal is to make a really engaging infographic that has a lot of data that's really helpful to individuals to get them interested in your charity and organization and want to participate in your fundraiser. And within it, I hope you feel like you learned some design and technology skills in this process.